The massive alien ships moved through space like silent predators. Their dark hulls gleamed under the distant starlight as they approached the edge of the solar system. Ambassador Kyle stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the data screens with satisfaction. His long blue fingers traced patterns in the air as he reviewed the intelligence reports. "Another primitive world," he said to his aide. "The third planet shows basic radio signals and early nuclear technology. They have barely left their home world. The Vraxian Empire had done this many times before. Find a young species, study them, and then decide their fate. Some were worthy of being uplifted to serve the Galactic Council. Others were too dangerous and needed to be contained. Most were simply ignored until they developed enough to be useful." Kyle's aide, a smaller Vraxian with pale green skin, bowed slightly. "Shall we begin standard first contact procedures, Ambassador?" "Yes," Kale replied. "Deploy the survey probes. I want to know everything about these humans before we make contact." Far away, hidden behind a cluster of asteroids, Captain Dae-hyun watched the alien fleet through his ship's sensors. The human officer sat in his command chair, his dark eyes focused on the tactical display. His ship, the Silent Dawn, was completely invisible to the alien scanners. "Sir," Navigator So-min called out from her station, "the alien fleet is splitting up. 12 ships are heading toward Earth. The rest are maintaining position near Jupiter." Dae-hyun nodded. He had been expecting this. "How long until they reach Earth?" 3 days at their current speed," So-min replied. Weapons Officer Taeho turned from his console. "Captain, should we inform Earth Command?" "Not yet," Dae-hyun said. "We maintain silent watch protocol." "Yunji, are you recording everything?" Communications Specialist Yunji nodded from her station. "Yes, sir. Every transmission, every ship movement, every energy signature. Earth Command. We'll have complete intelligence on their capabilities." The alien probe ships launched from the main fleet like a swarm of metal insects. They spread out across the solar system, their scanners reaching deep into space. But they found only what they expected to find: a young civilization taking its first steps into space. On the alien flagship, Science Officer Veltar studied the incoming data. "Ambassador, the humans appear to be exactly what our long-range scans indicated. They have some satellites around their planet and a few small space stations. Their technology level suggests they achieved spaceflight only recently." Kyle smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Perfect. Another species ripe for guidance. What is their population?" "Approximately 8 billion individuals concentrated on the third planet," Veltar reported. "They have no significant presence on other worlds in their system." "Excellent," Kale said. "Prepare the standard uplift package. We will offer them membership in the Galactic Council in exchange for resource rights and strategic positioning." What Kale did not know was that every word he spoke was being recorded by human listening devices. The aliens had no idea that humanity had been watching them for months. Hidden sensor networks throughout the solar system tracked their every movement. Captain Dae-hyun received a coded transmission from Earth. His orders were simple: continue observation and prepare for possible engagement. The message was signed by Admiral Kyung-soo, the Supreme Commander of Earth's Hidden Fleet. "Sir," Taeho said quietly, "I'm reading weapons signatures from the alien ships. They're armed with plasma cannons and missile systems." "What about their shields?" Dae-hyun asked. "Standard energy barriers," Taeho replied. "Nothing we haven't seen before in our simulations." Yunji looked up from her station. "Captain, I'm detecting communication between the alien ships and something beyond our solar system. They're reporting to a larger authority. Dae-hyun frowned. This was new information. Can you decode their transmissions? Partially, Yoon-ji said. They're calling this a routine survey of a primitive species. They mentioned something called the Galactic Council. So-min turned in her chair. Sir, if there's a larger galactic government, this could be more serious than we thought. Maybe, Dae-hyun said. Or maybe it's an opportunity. The alien probe ships reached Earth's orbit and began their detailed scans. They examined the planet's energy output, communication networks, and military capabilities. Everything they saw confirmed their initial assessment. The humans were a young species with basic technology. On the surface of Earth, people went about their daily lives completely unaware that alien ships were studying them from space. The aliens saw cities, roads, and what appeared to be primitive industrial facilities. They detected radio and television broadcasts that seemed to show an early information age civilization. What the aliens did not see were the hidden weapons platforms disguised as communication satellites. They did not detect the massive underground, facilities that housed Earth's true military forces. They missed the advanced cloaking systems that hid humanity's real technological capabilities. Ambassador Kale reviewed the final survey reports with satisfaction. The humans are exactly what we expected. They pose no threat to galactic stability. Begin preparations for first contact. His military advisor, a scarred Vraxian veteran named Tor Kix, studied the tactical data. Their weapons are chemical explosives and basic energy systems. Their fastest ships use primitive fuel rockets. We could conquer their entire world with a single battle group. Conquest will not be necessary, Kale said. They will welcome the opportunity to join galactic civilization. Most young species do. Deep in space, Captain Dae-hyun received another coded message. This one was longer and more detailed. As he read it, his expression grew serious. New orders, he announced to his crew. We are to maintain position and prepare for Operation Reveal. Earth Command is activating all stealth units. So-min looked confused. Operation Reveal, sir? The moment of truth, Dae-hyun replied. When we show these aliens that humanity is not what they think we are. Taeho checked his weapon systems. Are we going to attack them, Captain? Only if they attack us first, Dae-hyun said. But something tells me that won't be necessary. These aliens are about to learn a very important lesson about making assumptions. The alien fleet began moving toward Earth. Ambassador Kale stood on his bridge, preparing for what he believed would be a routine first contact mission. In his long career, he had overseen the integration of dozens of species into the Galactic Council. He expected the humans to be grateful for the opportunity. Open a communication channel to the human world, Kyle ordered. Let us introduce ourselves to our new friends. As the aliens prepared their first contact message, Captain Dae-hyun smiled grimly. The aliens had no idea what they were walking into. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for over a century. Soon, the galaxy would learn that Earth was not the primitive world it appeared to be. The stage was set for a confrontation that would change everything. The aliens believed they were dealing with a weak, young species. They were about to discover just how wrong they were. In the hidden depths of space, more human ships began moving into position. The Silent Dawn was not alone. Dozens of cloaked vessels waited in the darkness, ready to reveal themselves when the time was right. The first contact between humanity and the Galactic Council was about to begin. But it would not go the way the aliens expected. Deep beneath the surface of the moon, Admiral Kyung-soo stood in the war room that few humans knew existed. The chamber was carved from solid rock and filled with holographic displays showing every corner of the solar system. Red dots marked the positions of alien ships, while blue dots showed humanity's true military assets. "Status report," the Admiral commanded as he walked between the tactical displays. Colonel Hae-jin, his chief of staff, stepped forward with a data pad. "The alien fleet consists of 47 ships. Their technology level matches our intelligence. Estimates: standard plasma weapons, energy shields, and faster-than-light engines." Admiral Kyung-soo nodded. Humanity had been preparing for this day for over 400 years. What the aliens saw as a primitive world was actually the center of a vast interstellar civilization. "And our assets?" the Admiral asked. "All stealth fleets are in position," Colonel Hae-jin replied. 300 battlecruisers, 60 dreadnoughts, and over 1,000 smaller vessels. The entire home defense network is online and ready. Dr. Hyewan, the chief xenobiologist, approached from her workstation. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that had studied alien cultures for decades. "Admiral, I've completed my analysis of the aliens' communication patterns. They believe we are a Type 0 civilization." "Explain," the Admiral said. Dr. Hyewan activated a hologram showing the alien classification system. "They rate civilizations based on energy use and technological development. Type 0 means we can barely use our planet's resources. They have no idea we've been harvesting energy from multiple star systems for centuries." The truth was that humanity had been hiding its true capabilities since the first alien probe was detected entering the solar system 50 years ago. Every radio signal, every satellite, every visible structure on Earth was carefully designed to make humans appear primitive. Meanwhile, in a hidden facility on Mars, Commander Jin-woo received his activation orders. He stood in the control center of Firebase Alpha, one of 12 hidden military installations throughout the solar system. The base was built inside a natural cave system and completely invisible from space. "All stations report ready," his tactical officer reported. "Weapons platforms are charged and targeting systems are online." Commander Jin-woo looked at the tactical display. Mars appeared to be an empty, dead world to alien scanners. In reality, it housed the largest military complex humanity had ever built. Underground factories had been producing warships for decades. Hidden launch bays could deploy entire fleets at a moment's notice. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving the activation signal from Luna Base." "Acknowledged," Jin-woo replied. "Begin Phase 1 deployment. Activate all stealth systems and move our ships into attack positions." Across the solar system, humanity's true military might began to stir. Asteroid mining stations revealed themselves to be weapons platforms. Seemingly empty regions of space suddenly filled with cloaked warships. The deception that had taken centuries to perfect was about to be unveiled. On Earth, General Subin walked through the command bunker beneath New Seoul. Above ground, the May city looked like any other metropolitan area with tall buildings and busy streets. Below ground was a different story. "General," her aide reported, "all urban defense systems are ready. The civilian population has been moved to secure areas as planned." General Subin smiled. The aliens would be very surprised to learn that every major city on Earth was actually a fortress. The buildings that looked like offices and apartments were filled with weapons and shield generators. The subway systems could transport troops anywhere in the city within minutes. "What about the satellite network?" she asked. All defensive satellites are online, the aide replied. The aliens think they're looking at communication and weather satellites. They have no idea each one is armed with quantum cannons. Back on Luna Base. Admiral Kyung-soo received reports from around the solar system. Every hidden base was ready. Every stealth ship was in position. Humanity's greatest secret was about to be revealed. Dr. Chang Min, head of human intelligence, entered the war room with a thick folder of documents. He was an older man who had spent his entire career studying alien civilizations from the shadows. Admiral, he said, I have the complete intelligence report on our visitors. Tell me, the Admiral replied. Dr. Chang Min opened his folder. The lead ship belongs to Ambassador Kale of the Vraxian Empire. He's conducted first contact with 37 species over the past century. His standard procedure is to offer membership in the Galactic Council in exchange for resource rights and military access. In other words, Admiral Kyung-soo said, peaceful conquest. Exactly, Dr. Chang Min confirmed. The Galactic Council controls over 200 star systems. They expand by finding young species and integrating them into their empire. Species that refuse are usually destroyed. Admiral Kyung-soo studied the alien fleet positions on his tactical display. How many species have successfully resisted them? None, Dr. Chang Min replied grimly. Until now. The Admiral walked to the main display, showing Earth. To alien eyes, it looked like a peaceful blue world with a single intelligent species just beginning to explore space. The reality was very different. Show me Project Deep Watch, the Admiral commanded. The display changed to show a network of hidden observation posts throughout the galaxy. For over a century, human infiltration teams had been studying alien civilizations. Some used advanced disguises. Others hid in remote locations and observed from a distance. We know more about the Galactic Council than they know about themselves, Dr. Chang Min explained. We've identified their military capabilities, their political weaknesses, and their expansion patterns. And their reaction to resistance? The Admiral asked. They've never faced real resistance, Dr. Chang Min said. Every species they've encountered has been either too primitive to fight back or too intimidated by their superior numbers. Admiral Kyung-soo smiled. Then they're in for a surprise. On the bridge of the Silent Dawn, Captain Dae-hyun watched as the alien fleet moved closer to Earth. His orders were to maintain silent watch until the aliens made their intentions clear. But he was ready to act when the time came. Sir, Navigator So-min reported, I'm detecting movement from our stealth fleets. Ships are moving into position throughout the system. Captain Dae-hyun nodded. Good. How long until the aliens reach? Earth? 6 hours, So-min replied. Weapons Officer Taeho turned from his station. Captain, I'm reading energy signatures from the alien ships. They're powering up their weapon systems. Standard procedure, Dae-hyun said calmly. They always arrive ready for a fight just in case. What they don't know is that we're ready too. Communications Specialist Eun-ji looked up from her console. Sir, I'm receiving a priority message from Admiral Kyung-soo. Put it through, Dae-hyun ordered. The Admiral's voice filled the bridge. All units, this is Luna Base. The aliens will make contact in approximately 6 hours. Remember, they must be allowed to reveal their true intentions before we act. Stay hidden until the order is given. Understood, Dae-hyun replied. As the alien fleet approached Earth, Ambassador Kale prepared his standard first contact speech. He had given it so many times that he barely needed to think about the words. Soon, another primitive species would joined the Galactic Council as a junior member. What Kyle didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for centuries. The peaceful planet below was actually the heart of an interstellar empire. The primitive humans were actually advanced warriors with technology that matched or exceeded anything the Galactic Council possessed. The deception was perfect. The aliens saw exactly what humanity wanted them to see. Soon they would learn the truth about Earth and its people, but by then it would be too late to change their approach. The stage was set for the greatest surprise in galactic history. Ambassador Kale stood before the holographic display in his private chambers aboard the flagship Dominion's Edge. Around him, the translucent images of the other Galactic Council representatives flickered to life. Each species had sent their finest diplomats to oversee this routine first contact mission. The first to speak was Hive Queen Zack of the Chithari Empire. Her insect-like form clicked and buzzed as she communicated through the translation system. "The preliminary scans are complete, Ambassador Kale. This world contains significant mineral resources. My people require immediate extraction rights." "Patience, Hive Queen," replied Kale with diplomatic politeness. "We must follow proper protocols. First contact, evaluation, then integration." Crystal Singer Veltar of the Zephyrite Collective chimed in with a voice like wind through crystal caves. "The humans show interesting potential for artistic development. Their primitive music and visual arts could be refined under proper guidance. We suggest careful study before any major intervention." Kyle nodded respectfully. The Zephyrites were always concerned with cultural preservation, though they usually ended up absorbing the best aspects of conquered civilizations into their own crystalline society. War Chief Gorthak of the Sauron Republic shifted his massive, reptilian bulk and spoke in a deep, rumbling voice. "Bah! These soft creatures need strong leadership. Standard uplift protocols should work well. Give them basic technology, establish governance structures, and integrate their military into our border defense forces." "The humans appear completely unprepared for galactic contact," agreed Kale. "Our intelligence shows they have not even achieved faster-than-light travel. Their most advanced weapons are basic nuclear devices." Science Officer Veltar entered the conference room carrying a data tablet. The Vraxian officer bowed to the holographic assembly before speaking. "Honored representatives, I have completed the detailed analysis of the human civilization." "Proceed," Kale commanded. Veltar activated his tablet and detailed charts appeared in the air around them. "The humans are a Type 0.7 civilization on the Kardashev scale. They consume approximately 15 terawatts of power globally, mostly from primitive fossil fuels and early nuclear technology." Hive Queen Zack's compound eyes glittered with interest. "Their energy consumption patterns? Inefficient and wasteful," Veltar replied. "They have not yet learned to harness their star's energy directly. Their space program consists of chemical rockets and a few small orbital stations. Total space-based population is less than 50 individuals." War Chief Gorthak laughed, a sound like grinding stone. 50. My smallest patrol ship carries more warriors than their entire space presence." Crystal Singer Veltar's harmonious voice carried a note of curiosity. "What of their military capabilities?" "Primitive but numerous," Veltar responded. "They maintain large armies equipped with projectile weapons and chemical explosives. Their nuclear arsenal could threaten their own world, but poses no danger to modern spacecraft." Kyle studied the data with satisfaction. Every scan confirmed what their long-range surveys had indicated. The humans were a typical young species. Numerous, energetic, but technologically inferior, perfect candidates for integration into the Galactic Council's expanding empire. Recommendation? Kale asked his science officer. Standard first contact protocols, Veltar replied without hesitation. Approach peacefully. Demonstrate superior technology. Offer membership in the Galactic Council. Most species at this development level accept gratefully. And if they refuse? Asked War Chief Gorthak, though his tone suggested he hoped they would. Unlikely, Veltar said. But if necessary, a single battle group could pacify their entire world within days. Their weapons cannot penetrate modern energy shields. Unknown to the aliens, every word of their conversation was being recorded by human listening devices. Deep beneath the lunar surface, Tactical Officer Min Ho analyzed the alien discussions while updating Earth's strategic assessments. Admiral, Min Ho reported to Admiral Kyung-soo. The aliens have completed their evaluation. They're classifying us as a Type 0.7 civilization. Admiral Kyung-soo smiled grimly. And our actual classification? Type 2.3, sir, Min Ho replied. We've been harnessing the energy of multiple star systems for over a century. Our true energy consumption is approximately 10,000 times higher than what they've detected. Excellent, the Admiral said. Continue monitoring their communications. I want to know every detail of their plans. Back on the alien flagship, the Council representatives were voting on their course of action. The decision was unanimous. The humans would be offered membership in the Galactic Council under standard terms. Very well, Kale announced. I will personally deliver the integration offer. How many ships should we bring for the formal contact? 12. Should be sufficient, suggested War Chief Gorthak. Enough to demonstrate our power, but not so many as to appear threatening. Agreed, said Hive Queen Zack. Though I recommend keeping the main fleet ready for extraction operations once resource rights are established. Crystal Singer Veltar added her melodious voice to the discussion. The humans should be allowed to maintain their cultural identity during integration. It makes the process smoother. Kyle nodded to each representative. Then we are decided. I will take 12 ships to Earth orbit and initiate first contact. The humans will be given the standard choice: join us willingly or be integrated by force. As the holographic conference ended, Kale felt the familiar satisfaction of another successful mission beginning. In his 50 years as an ambassador, he had never encountered significant resistance from a primitive species. The humans would follow the same pattern as all the others. What Kale did not know was that Captain Wu Jin was watching from the bridge of the human dreadnought Earthshaker, hidden just 3 kilometers away. The massive warship was completely invisible to alien sensors, protected by advanced cloaking technology that the Galactic Council had never encountered. Sir, reported Wu Jin's tactical officer, the alien flagship is preparing to move. 12 ships are breaking off from the main fleet. Captain Wu Jin studied his tactical display. The alien ships were powerful, armed with plasma cannons and protected by energy shields. Against a primitive civilization, they would be unstoppable. Against humanity's true military capabilities, they were about to face a very unpleasant surprise. Signal. The fleet, Wu Jin ordered. Phase 2 positions. All stealth units are to maintain concealment until Admiral Kyung-soo gives the activation order. Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden armada began to move. Ships that had been disguised as asteroids powered up their engines. Weapons. Platforms hidden in orbital debris fields activated their targeting systems. The trap was set and waiting. On Earth, General Subin reviewed the alien fleet composition from her command bunker. 12 ships, she mused to her staff. They're either very confident or very foolish. Perhaps both, General, suggested her aide. General Subin nodded. Signal all defensive units. The aliens are coming to make their offer. When they do, they're going to learn that humanity doesn't negotiate from a position of weakness. Ambassador Kale's ship moved toward Earth, carrying what he believed would be humanity's first glimpse of galactic civilization. He had no idea that humans had been studying galactic civilization for decades. He didn't know that his supposedly overwhelming technological advantage was actually a severe disadvantage. The Galactic Council had made a critical error in their assessment. They had seen what humanity wanted them to see and drawn exactly the wrong conclusions. Soon, they would pay the price for their arrogance. As the alien contact fleet approached Earth, the greatest military deception in human history was about to be revealed. The aliens thought they were dealing with a primitive species. They were about to discover that they had found something far more dangerous, a civilization that had been planning for this encounter for centuries. Far from Earth, in a star system the aliens had never bothered to explore, Engineer Bo-Ra stood before the control panel of humanity's greatest secret. The Prometheus station hung in space near a carefully modified star, its surface covered with exotic machinery that could barely be comprehended by lesser civilizations. Stellar engineering systems are online, Bo-Ra reported to her team. All 17 modified stars are responding to remote commands. Her assistant, a young engineer named Dong Wu, stared at the massive displays showing star systems across 100 light-years of space. Engineer Bo-Ra, are we really going to use the stars as weapons? Bo-Ra nodded seriously. If necessary, humanity spent 2 centuries learning to manipulate stellar fusion. We can make stars flare, dim, or even explode on command. The aliens have no idea that we've turned entire solar systems into weapons platforms. The Prometheus project was humanity's ultimate deterrent. By carefully placing quantum resonators near the cores of distant stars, human engineers could trigger massive solar flares or cause stellar collapse. It was a weapon that could destroy entire fleets or even sterilize planets from across the galaxy. Meanwhile, in the outer reaches of the solar system, Captain Wu Jin commanded the dreadnought Earthshaker from his position near what appeared to be empty space. The ship was over 5 kilometers long and armed with weapons that could crack planets in half. Captain, his science officer reported, all camouflage systems are functioning perfectly. The aliens still can't detect us. Captain, Wu Jin studied the tactical display showing his ship and the 17 other dreadnoughts hidden throughout the solar system. Each vessel had been built using resources from dismantled asteroids and minor planets. Their construction had taken decades and required the entire output of humanity's hidden industrial base. "What's our weapons status?" he asked his tactical. "Officer, all systems ready, sir," came the reply. "Quantum cannons are charged, gravitational mines are deployed, and our dimensional shift drives are standing by." The dimensional shift drives were humanity's secret advantage. While the aliens relied on traditional faster-than-light engines, human ships could phase between dimensions, making them effectively untouchable during combat. On Earth itself, the planet's true nature was about to be revealed. General Subin stood in the command center beneath Seoul, watching as the city above prepared for possible battle. "General," her communications officer reported, "all urban defense systems are responding. The transformation sequence is ready to begin." General Subin nodded. "Excellent. Signal all major cities. Prepare for Operation Fortress. Around the world, cities that had looked peaceful and defenseless began to change. In New York, skyscrapers slid apart to reveal massive weapons platforms. In London, the Thames River opened up to show underground harbors filled with defensive ships. In Tokyo, the entire downtown area lifted up on hydraulic platforms, exposing a military command center that could coordinate planetary defense. The subway systems in every major city were actually high-speed military transport networks. Underground, factories had been producing weapons and equipment for decades. Even the civilian population had been secretly trained for this moment. Dr. Chang Min sat in his office deep beneath Geneva, surrounded by files that contained humanity's greatest intelligence triumph. For over a century, human agents had been gathering information about galactic civilization. "Sir," his aide reported, "we've received the latest reports from our deep cover operatives." Dr. Chang Min smiled as he reviewed the intelligence. Human agents had infiltrated dozens of alien worlds using advanced disguises and genetic modifications. Some had even joined alien military forces or government agencies. "What have we learned about the Galactic Council's military doctrine?" he asked. "They rely heavily on technological superiority and overwhelming force," the aide replied. "They've never faced an enemy with comparable technology. Most of their tactics assume they're fighting primitive civilizations." Dr. Chang Min nodded. "That assumption is about to cost them dearly." The intelligence network had mapped every major military base in Council space. They knew the locations of shipyards, weapons factories, and command centers. More importantly, they had identified the political tensions between different Council species. In orbit around Mars, Commander Yuna oversaw the activation of Firebase, Omega, one of dozens of hidden military installations throughout the solar system. The base was built inside a natural canyon and completely invisible from space. "All weapon systems are online," her tactical officer reported. "We have clear targeting solutions on the entire alien fleet." Commander Yuna studied the enemy positions. "How many ships do we have hidden in this system?" "Over 300, ma'am," came the reply. "Battlecruisers, destroyers, and support vessels, all equipped with our latest stealth technology." What the aliens didn't know was that humanity had been secretly building a massive military force for centuries. Every asteroid mining operation was actually a shipyard. Every research station was a weapons development facility. The entire solar system was a fortress designed to look like a peaceful civilization. On Luna Base, Admiral Kyung-soo received reports from across human space. Hidden bases throughout the galaxy were powering up their systems. Sleeper ships that had been disguised as space debris for decades were beginning to move. The greatest military deception in history was about to be revealed. "Admiral," Colonel Hei Jin reported, "Project Deep Strike is ready. Our infiltration teams are in position throughout Council space." Admiral Kyung-soo nodded grimly. "And our alliance partners?" "The Ket Collective is ready to move against Council forces in the Vega sector," the colonel replied. "The Free Worlds. Coalition will begin operations in the Centauri region. The neutral zone tribes are prepared to cut off Council supply lines." The aliens had no idea that humanity had been secretly allying with species that had resisted Council expansion. These civilizations had been waiting for someone strong enough to challenge the Council's dominance. Engineer Sarang worked frantically in the weapons laboratory beneath the Sahara Desert. Around her, technicians prepared humanity's secret arsenal. "For deployment, status report on the quantum torpedoes," she called out. "Production complete," her assistant replied. "We have enough quantum munitions to arm the entire fleet." Sarang smiled with satisfaction. The quantum torpedoes used principles of physics that the Galactic Council had never discovered. Each weapon could phase through energy shields and detonate inside enemy ships. "What about the gravitational mines?" she asked. "Deployed throughout the solar system," came the reply. "The aliens won't be able to detect them until it's too late. The gravitational mines were invisible weapons that could create artificial gravity wells, trapping enemy ships or crushing them with massive gravitational forces. Captain Ji Young commanded a fleet of stealth fighters hidden in the asteroid belt. Her ships looked like space rocks to alien scanners, but were actually advanced combat. Vessels armed with humanity's latest weapons. "All pilots report ready," her flight leader announced. "We have targeting locks on the alien escort ships." Captain Ji Young studied her tactical display. "Remember, we don't fire until Admiral Kyung-soo gives the order. But when that order comes, we hit them with everything we have." Throughout the solar system, similar scenes were playing out. Humanity's true military might was awakening from its long slumber. Ships that had been hidden for decades powered up, their weapons. Soldiers who had been pretending to be civilians prepared for battle. The most advanced civilization in the galaxy was about to show its true face. The aliens approaching Earth had no idea what they were flying into. They thought they were dealing with a primitive species that would either surrender or be easily conquered. Instead, they were about to face a military force that had been preparing for this moment for centuries. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to learn and adapt. For 400 years, humans had studied their potential enemies, developed superior technology, and prepared for the day when they would have to fight for their independence. That day had finally arrived. Captain Ji-hoon sat in the command chair of the stealth destroyer Shadow Strike, watching as the alien contact fleet approached Jupiter's orbit. His ship floated silently among what the aliens believed were natural moons and asteroids. Soon they would learn the truth about humanity's defenses. "Sir," his tactical officer whispered, "the alien fleet is moving into the kill zone. All ships are maintaining perfect formation." Ji-hoon nodded. The aliens were following their standard approach pattern, exactly as human intelligence had predicted. Ambassador Kyle's 12 ships moved confidently through space, completely unaware that they were flying into the most elaborate trap in galactic history. "Ranged targets?" Ji-hoon asked quietly. 15,000 kilometers and closing," came the reply. "All weapons are locked on target." On the flagship Dominion's edge, Ambassador Kale stood on his bridge studying the primitive solar system. Jupiter appeared to be a standard gas giant with several natural moons. His scanners detected no weapons, no shields, no signs of advanced technology. "Ambassador," Science Officer Veltar reported, "we're detecting some artificial satellites around the larger moons. They appear to be basic research stations." Kyle nodded dismissively. "Primitive space habitats. Nothing that could threaten our fleet." What Kale didn't know was that those research stations were actually the most powerful weapons platforms humanity had ever built. Each one was armed with quantum cannons capable of destroying capital ships with a single shot. Commander. Ha-Young waited patiently in the control center of Europa Defense Station. From the outside, her facility looked like a small scientific outpost. In reality, it was a massive fortress built inside Jupiter's moon, armed with enough firepower to level a planet. "Ma'am," her weapons officer reported. "All stations report. Ready. We have targeting solutions on every alien ship." Ha Young studied the tactical display showing the approaching enemy fleet. Remember, we wait for Admiral Kyung-soo's signal. When it comes, we hit them with everything we have. The aliens had made a critical error in their approach. They assumed that a primitive civilization would place their defenses close to their home world. Instead, humanity had built their first line of defense at the edge of the solar system, disguised as natural objects. "Sir," Ha Young's communications officer called out, "I'm receiving the activation signal from Luna Base." Ha Young smiled grimly. "All stations, this is Europa Command. Begin Operation Revelation." Across the Jupiter system, humanity's hidden defenses came to life. What the aliens had thought were natural moons suddenly opened up like flowers, revealing massive weapons arrays. Europa launched a swarm of fighter craft that had been hidden in underground hangars. Ganymede's surface split apart to show planetary bombardment cannons that could crack asteroids in half. The alien fleet suddenly found themselves surrounded by weapons that shouldn't exist. Their sensors went crazy as energy signatures that exceeded anything in their databases appeared all around them. "What is happening?" Ambassador Kale shouted on his bridge as alarms began blaring. "Where did these weapons come from?" Science Officer Veltar stared at his displays in shock. "Sir, I'm reading massive energy signatures from what we thought were natural satellites. Those aren't research stations, they're weapons platforms." Before Kale could respond, the first wave of human attacks struck his fleet. Quantum cannons fired beams of pure energy that passed through alien shields like they didn't exist. The lead escort ship exploded in a brilliant flash as its hull was vaporized at the molecular level. Captain Yeon-soo commanded a squadron of ships that had been disguised as asteroids in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. When the shooting started, her rocks suddenly came alive with engine fire and weapons blazing. "All ships, attack pattern Delta," she ordered. "Target their engines first. We want some of them alive for questioning." Her battlecruisers dropped their camouflage and revealed themselves to be sleek, deadly warships armed with weapons the aliens had never seen before. Gravitational mines that had been floating invisibly in space suddenly activated, creating massive gravity wells that trapped several alien ships. Ambassador Kale watched in horror as his supposedly superior fleet was torn apart by weapons that shouldn't exist. His shields, which had been designed to stop the most advanced Council weapons, were useless against human technology. "Return fire," he screamed. "All ships, return fire." The alien plasma cannons opened up, sending streams of superheated gas toward the human positions. But the humans had been studying alien weapons for decades. Their shields were specifically designed to deflect Council technology. "Sir," Veltar reported, his voice shaking, "our weapons are having minimal effect. Their shields are deflecting our plasma streams." Captain Ji-hoon's destroyer Shadow Strike emerged from its hiding place behind one of Jupiter's moons. His ship had been invisible to alien sensors, but now it revealed itself in all its deadly glory. "Target the alien flagship," he ordered. "Quantum torpedoes full spread." The torpedoes appeared to move slowly through space, but they were actually phasing in and out of normal reality. When they struck the alien flagship, they passed through its shields and exploded inside the ship's hull. The Dominion's edge shuddered under multiple internal explosions. Emergency lights flashed as systems failed throughout the ship. Ambassador Kale struggled to stay on his feet as his bridge shook around him. "Damage report," he called out. "Hull breaches on decks 12 through 15, his damage control officer reported. "Main engines are offline. We're losing atmosphere." The alien fleet that had seemed so powerful just minutes before was being systematically destroyed by an Enemy they had completely underestimated. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were being taken apart by human weapons that operated on principles of physics the Galactic Council had never discovered. Commander Ha Young watched the battle from her command center on Europa. Signal all stations. Begin Phase 2. Deploy the capture nets. Across the battlefield, new weapons came online. Instead of destroying the remaining alien ships, humanity began deploying capture technology. Gravitational fields locked onto damaged vessels and pulled them toward human boarding parties. "We need prisoners," Ha Young explained to her officers. "Intelligence wants to question alien command personnel." On the alien flagship, Ambassador Kale finally understood the magnitude of his mistake. This wasn't a primitive civilization. It was an advanced military power that had been hiding its true capabilities. "Send a distress signal to the main fleet," he ordered. "Tell them we've encountered significant resistance." "Sir," his communications officer replied, "I can't get a signal through. Something is jamming our transmissions." What Kale didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for centuries. Every aspect of the battle had been planned and rehearsed. The aliens weren't just being defeated. They were being studied, analyzed, and dissected by an enemy that knew them better than they knew themselves. The battle was over in less than an hour. Of the 12 ships that had approached Earth, 3 had been completely destroyed and 9 had been captured. Not a single human ship had been lost. Captain Yan Su stood on the bridge of her flagship as her crew secured the alien prisoners. "Send a message to Admiral Kyung Su. The first phase is complete." Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden fleets remained in position. The aliens had sent their contact force and lost it completely. Soon they would send a larger force to investigate. Humanity would be ready for them, too. Ambassador Kale sat in his damaged command chair, staring at the tactical display that showed his fleet's destruction. He had just learned the most important lesson of his career. Never assume that a quiet civilization is a weak one. The greatest surprise in galactic history had just begun. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in chaos. Representatives from 17 species gathered in the Great Hall on Nexus Prime, their voices raised in confusion and anger. The holographic displays showed the wreckage of Ambassador Kale's fleet floating in the Jupiter system. Council Chairman Vex Kor, a tall being with gray skin and 4 arms, called for order. "Representatives, please. We must address this crisis calmly." But calm was the last thing anyone felt. The impossible had happened. A primitive species had destroyed a council fleet using technology that shouldn't exist. Military advisor Genra, a battle-scarred veteran of a dozen campaigns, stood before the assembly with grim reports. "The tactical analysis is complete. The humans used weapons we've never encountered before. Quantum cannons that ignore energy shields, torpedoes that phase through matter, gravitational weapons that trap our ships." Hive Queen Zack clicked her mandibles in agitation. "This is impossible. Our intelligence clearly showed they were a primitive civilization." "Our intelligence was wrong," Genra replied bluntly. "The humans have been deliberately hiding their true capabilities. This was a carefully planned deception." Crystal singer Veltar's harmonious voice carried notes of fear. "If they could hide this much from our scans, what else are they hiding?" War Chief Gorthax slammed his massive fist on the table. "It doesn't matter what they're hiding. We have 1,000 ships in this system alone. We crush them with overwhelming force." Chairman Vex Kor studied the tactical reports with growing concern. "Advisor Genra, what are our casualty estimates if we attack Earth directly?" Genra activated the holographic display showing various battle scenarios. Unknown, sir. We have no reliable data on their defensive capabilities. If their space-based weapons are this advanced, their planetary defenses could be even stronger. The chamber erupted in arguments as representatives debated their response. Some called for immediate invasion, others suggested negotiation. A few even proposed retreat. The debate was interrupted by an urgent communication from the outer system. A panicked voice filled the chamber. "This is Captain Morthex of the patrol ship Vigilant. We're under attack by unknown forces. They appeared out of nowhere. Our shields are—" The transmission cut off abruptly. The holographic display showed the location of the Vigilant, a patrol ship that had been guarding the system's edge. Now it was gone. "How many ships did we lose?" Chairman VexCorps asked quietly. 12 more patrol vessels have gone silent. In the past hour, Genra reported. We're being attacked throughout the system by forces we can't even detect. What the Council didn't know was that Admiral Insuk was leading a coordinated strike against their outer defenses. Her fleet of stealth ships was systematically eliminating Council patrols while remaining completely invisible to enemy sensors. "Sir," her tactical officer reported, "we've cleared the outer perimeter. All enemy scouts have been neutralized." Admiral Insuk nodded with satisfaction. "Excellent. Signal Admiral Kyung-Soo. Phase 3 is complete." On Earth, Admiral Kyung-Soo prepared humanity's formal response to the Galactic Council. He stood before a communication array that would broadcast his message across the galaxy. "This is Admiral Kyung-Soo of the Earth Defense Force," he began. "The Galactic Council has attempted to intimidate humanity with displays of military force. This was a mistake. His message was transmitted on frequencies the Council used for official communications, ensuring that every government in their space would receive it. Humanity formally rejects any attempt at integration, uplift, or conquest. We demand recognition as an equal power and warn that any further aggression will be met with total warfare." The message included detailed intelligence reports on Council, military positions, government structures, and political weaknesses. It was designed to show the aliens that humanity knew everything about them. "We know the location of your shipyards," the Admiral continued. "We know your supply routes. We know your political divisions. We have been watching you for centuries, preparing for this day." On Nexus Prime, the Council representatives listened to the human message in stunned silence. Dr. Youngmi's intelligence reports, transmitted by human infiltrators already embedded in Council worlds, accompanied the Admiral's words. The reports revealed the shocking truth. Humans had been present in galactic civilization for decades. They had infiltrated governments, military forces, and scientific institutions. Every major decision the Council had made in recent years had been observed and analyzed by human agents. "They've been spying on us for how long?" Hive Queen Zack buzzed in outrage. Military advisor Genra reviewed the intelligence data with growing alarm. "According to these reports, they have agents on at least 50 Council worlds. They know our military capabilities better than we know our own." War Chief Gorthak roared his fury. "Then we destroy them now, before they can use this intelligence against us." "With what?" Chairman VexCorps asked grimly. "Half our outer fleet has been destroyed by enemies we can't even see. How do we fight an enemy that can strike anywhere while remaining invisible?" The truth was that the Galactic Council faced an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. Every species they had conquered had been either technologically inferior or politically divided. Humanity was neither. Council Military Supreme Commander VexCorps scrambled to reassess their strategic position. The discovery that what they believed was a primitive backwater was actually a peer-level military power threatened the very foundation of Council dominance. "Sir," his aide reported, "we're receiving reports from across Council space. Human agents are revealing themselves and demanding that their governments reconsider their relationship with the Council." VexCorps studied the incoming reports with growing dread. On Zephyrite Prime, human diplomats were offering advanced technology in exchange for neutrality. On Chithari worlds, human agents were encouraging worker rebellions against the Hive Queens. On Sauron colonies, humans were providing weapons to independence movements. "They're not just attacking us militarily," he realized. "They're attacking our entire political structure." The humans had identified the fundamental weakness of the Galactic Council. It was held together by force and fear, not genuine cooperation. Now that humanity offered an alternative, the cracks in the Council's unity were beginning to show. Dr. Park, head of Human Diplomatic Intelligence, coordinated the political campaign from his office on Earth. "Signal all embedded agents," he ordered. "Begin Phase 4, political destabilization." Across Council space, human agents began revealing themselves and offering the oppressed species a chance to join a new galactic order. One based on equality rather than domination. One where technological advancement was shared rather than hoarded by the powerful. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Species that had been forced into the Council decades ago began declaring independence. Worlds that had provided resources under threat began cutting off supplies. The carefully maintained order of galactic civilization started to collapse. On Nexus Prime, Chairman VexCorps faced the greatest crisis in Council history. "How many worlds have declared independence in the past 6 hours?" 47 and counting, his aide reported. "The humans are offering them protection and advanced technology. Many are accepting." The revelation hit the Council like a physical blow. Not only were the humans militarily powerful, they were offering something the Council never had: genuine partnership between equals. "Sir," Military Advisor Genra reported, "I'm receiving emergency communications from fleet commanders throughout Council space. They're requesting instructions on how to deal with human infiltrators and independence movements." Chairman VexCorps looked around the chamber at his fellow representatives. Many species that had seemed united just hours before were now eyeing each other with suspicion. If humans could infiltrate so completely, who could be trusted? "We have 2 choices," he announced grimly. "Accept humanity as an equal partner in a reformed galactic government, or face a war against an enemy that knows all our secrets while we know almost nothing about theirs." War Chief Gorthak stood up, his massive form towering over the assembly. "The Sauron Republic chooses war. We will not bow to these deceitful humans." But even as he spoke, reports were coming in that Sauron colony worlds were declaring independence with human support. The mighty reptilian empire was fracturing from within. The Galactic Council faced an impossible situation. They had underestimated humanity and now faced the consequences of their arrogance. The war they were about to declare would not be against a primitive species, but against a civilization that had been preparing for this conflict for centuries. The galaxy would never be the same. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council had never seen such chaos. War faction leader Mortes pounded his armored fist on the central podium as representatives shouted over each other in dozens of different languages. The translation systems struggled to keep up with the flood of angry voices. "Order! Order!" Chairman VexCorps called out, but his authority was crumbling along with the Council's unity. War Chief Gorthak's massive form dominated one side of the chamber as he rallied support for immediate military action. These humans have made fools of us all. They have spied on our worlds, corrupted our citizens, and destroyed our fleets. The only response is total war. But Diplomatic Corps leader Fel 9 stood firm in opposition. Her crystalline form shimmered with agitation as she spoke. War Chief, you speak of revenge, not strategy. These humans have shown technological capabilities that match or exceed our own. A direct confrontation could destroy us all. The debate raged for hours while reports continued to flood in from across Council space. 17 more worlds had declared independence. 3 major supply routes had been cut by independence movements. Most alarming of all, human agents were openly offering protection to any world that chose to leave the Council. Military advisor Genra stood before the tactical displays showing the rapidly changing galactic situation. Red zones marked areas where Council authority was being challenged. Blue zones showed confirmed human presence. The map was more blue than red and getting worse by the hour. Representatives, Genra announced, I must report that our strategic position continues to deteriorate. Human forces have simultaneously struck intelligence networks across 12 star systems. What the Council didn't know was that Captain Seung-ho was leading those precise strikes from his command ship Perseus. His fleet of stealth destroyers had spent weeks positioning themselves near key Council installations. Target the communications array, Seung-ho ordered as his ship approached, a major intelligence station. We want to disrupt their ability to coordinate, not destroy everything. His weapons officer nodded. Quantum torpedoes armed and ready, targeting their primary data cores. The attack was surgical and devastating. The intelligence station's main computers were destroyed while the life support systems remained intact. The facility's personnel were left alive but unable to perform their intelligence functions. Signal the next target, Seung-ho commanded. We have 11 more facilities to visit tonight. Across Council space, similar attacks were taking place. Human forces struck with precision and timing that showed impossible coordination. Every attack was perfectly planned to cause maximum disruption with minimum casualties. The message was clear. Humanity could strike anywhere at any time, but they chose restraint. This wasn't random destruction. It was a demonstration of power, controlled by discipline. Admiral Jae-won received his final briefings on humanity's secret allies in the hidden command center beneath Pluto's surface. For decades, human diplomats had been making contact with species that had resisted Council expansion or been conquered against their will. Sir, his intelligence officer reported, the Ket Collective has agreed to our alliance terms. They're contributing 40 ships to the coalition fleet. Admiral Jae-won studied the growing list of allies. The Ket were warriors who had been fighting Council expansion for 50 years. The Free Worlds Coalition represented dozens of smaller species that had been absorbed by the Council but never truly integrated. The neutral zone tribes controlled key trade routes that the Council depended on. What about the Astari Republic? Jae-won asked. They're still deciding, the officer replied. But their ambassador has requested a private meeting with our diplomatic team. The Astari were important because they controlled the largest shipyards outside Council space. If they joined the human alliance, the balance of military power would shift dramatically. Set up the meeting, Jae-won ordered. Make sure they understand this isn't just about opposing the Council. We're offering them a chance to help build something better. On Nexus Prime, the Council vote was finally called. Chairman Vex Corps looked around the chamber at the representatives who would decide the fate of galactic civilization. The motion, before us, is simple, he announced. Do we declare war on humanity and their allies, Or do we attempt to negotiate a peaceful resolution? War faction leader Mortes spoke first. The humans have shown nothing but deception and aggression. They infiltrated our worlds, stole our secrets, and attacked our forces. We cannot show weakness now. What you call weakness, I call wisdom, replied Diplomatic Corps leader Fel 9. The humans have offered to negotiate. They've shown they can destroy us but choose restraint. Perhaps we should listen to what they have to say. The debate continued, but the outcome was inevitable. Too many representatives had been humiliated by the human deception. Too many worlds were questioning council authority. War was the only option that allowed them to maintain their dignity. The vote is called, Chairman Vexcor announced. All in favor of declaring war on humanity and its allies? The result was overwhelming. 43 votes in favor, 12 against, and 8 abstentions. The Galactic Council had chosen war. General Maul. Hyojin received the news in her Strategic Planning Center on Earth. She had been expecting this outcome and was already prepared with humanity's response. Signal all fleet commanders, she ordered. The Council has declared war. Begin operation. Liberation. Throughout the galaxy, human forces that had been waiting in hidden positions suddenly revealed themselves. Admiral In Suk's stealth fleet emerged from the shadows and began attacking Council supply convoys. Captain Min Ho's squadron struck a major shipyard, crippling the Council's ability to build new vessels. But the most devastating blow came from the Prometheus project. Engineer Bora activated stellar manipulation systems near 3 key Council worlds. The stars in those systems began to flare and pulse in patterns that disrupted all electronic systems on nearby planets. Sir, Bora's assistant reported, the stellar flares are generating electromagnetic pulses that are disabling Council technology across 17 star systems. Bora nodded with satisfaction. The Council relies too heavily on their electronic systems. When their computers fail, their entire civilization grinds to a halt. The Council had never faced an enemy that could manipulate stars themselves. Their most heavily defended worlds suddenly found themselves cut off from the galactic communication network. Admiral Sai-Wu prepared for the largest space battle in galactic history. His fleet of 200 ships was assembling near the border of Council space, ready to engage the enemy's main battle fleet. Sir, his tactical officer reported, Council forces are massing near the Nexus system, over 300 ships including their most advanced dreadnoughts. Admiral Sai-Wu studied the tactical display showing both fleets moving toward their inevitable confrontation. Good. It's time to show them what humanity's true military capabilities look like. The human fleet included technologies that the Council had never encountered, ships that could phase between dimensions to avoid enemy fire, weapons that manipulated time and space, defensive systems that turned enemy attacks back against them. Sir, his science officer reported, our dimensional phase drives are functioning perfectly. The enemy won't be able to target us effectively during combat. Admiral Sai-Wu smiled, grimly. Then let's give them a demonstration they'll never forget. The war between humanity and the Galactic Council was about to begin in earnest. The Council still believed they held the advantage in numbers and experience. They were about to learn that sometimes quantity was no match for quality. Engineer Nari watched from her research station as the final preparations were made for battle. Her innovations in weapons technology had given humanity advantages that the Council couldn't counter. The temporal distortion fields are ready, she reported. Any Council ship that tries to attack us will find their weapons firing into the past while we shoot them in the present. It was technology based on principles, of physics that the Council had never discovered. Time itself would become humanity's ally in the coming battle. The greatest war in galactic history was about to begin, and humanity was ready. The Council had chosen to fight rather than negotiate. Now they would learn the true cost of their arrogance. The galaxy watched and waited as two civilizations prepared to clash. The outcome would determine whether the future belonged to the old order of conquest and domination or to a new age of cooperation and equality. War had been declared. Now it was time to fight. The Battle of Nexus Prime would be remembered as the day galactic civilization changed forever. Admiral Sai Wu stood on the bridge of his flagship Eternal Victory as the massive human fleet emerged from dimensional space directly in front of the Council's capital world. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "Council forces are moving to intercept. I count 437 ships, including their newest dreadnoughts." Admiral Sai Wu studied the enemy formation with calm confidence. The Council fleet was impressive by any standard except one. They had never faced an enemy with technology centuries ahead of their own. "Signal all ships," he commanded. "Begin Operation Final Dawn. Show them what humanity has learned." The human fleet spread out in a formation that seemed impossible to the watching Council forces. Ships began phasing in and out of visible space, while others seemed to bend light around themselves. The humans weren't just using stealth technology. They were manipulating the laws of physics themselves. Council Admiral Vex Thor watched from his command ship as the human fleet displayed capabilities beyond his understanding. "What am I looking at?" he demanded of his science officers. "Sir," came the nervous reply, "they appear to be using dimensional phasing technology. Our sensors can barely track them." Before Vex Thor could respond, the battle began. Human ships that seemed to flicker between realities opened fire with weapons that defied all known physics. Quantum cannons fired beams that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Temporal weapons struck targets before they were even fired. Engineer Nari's innovations proved devastating in actual combat. Council ships found their own weapons firing backward through time, while human attacks hit them before they could react. The careful formations of the Council fleet began to break apart under attacks they couldn't understand or counter. "Sir," Admiral Sai Wu's weapons officer reported, "our temporal distortion fields are working perfectly. Enemy fire is being redirected into parallel timelines while our shots are hitting home." Admiral Siwu nodded as he watched Council ships explode around their fleet. "Focus on disabling rather than destroying. We want their surrender, not their annihilation." The human strategy was as brilliant as it was devastating. Instead of simply crushing the Council fleet, they systematically disabled key systems while leaving life support intact. Ships that had been pride of the Council Navy found themselves helpless, floating in space with crews that were alive but defeated. Captain Minseo led the boarding operations as human forces took control of disabled Council vessels. Her teams moved through alien ships with precision and discipline, securing prisoners while showing unexpected mercy to defeated enemies. "Attention, Council forces," she announced over the communication channels. "Surrender now, and you will be treated with honor. Continue fighting and face complete destruction." The message was broadcast in 17 different languages as human forces demonstrated their complete understanding of Council cultures and protocols. This wasn't just military victory, it was proof that humanity had been studying their enemies for centuries. On the Council flagship, Admiral Vex Thor watched his proud fleet being systematically destroyed by an enemy that seemed to control the very fabric of space and time. His most advanced weapons were useless against human defenses that operated on principles he couldn't comprehend. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving surrender requests from 40% of our fleet. They can't fight. Back against weapons they can't even see." Admiral Vex Thor stared at the tactical display showing the ruins of his armada. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were being taken apart by human technology that made them look primitive by comparison. "Open a channel to the human fleet," he ordered with the bitter taste of defeat. Admiral Sai-Wu accepted the surrender with dignity befitting a warrior who understood the costs of war. "Admiral Vex Thor, I accept your surrender on behalf of the United Human Federation and our allies. Your crews will be treated with respect, and your wounded will receive medical care." The formal surrender took place aboard the heavily damaged Nexus Prime station. Captain Min Seo accepted the ceremonial weapons of the Council leadership, while engineers worked to repair the station's life support systems. "The terms are simple," Captain Min Seo announced to the assembled Council representatives. "The Galactic Council as an imperial power is dissolved. In its place, we will establish a true democratic federation where all species have equal representation." Chairman Vex Kor, now a prisoner rather than a leader, listened to the terms with the stunned disbelief of someone whose entire worldview had been shattered. "You could have destroyed us all. Why show mercy?" Captain Min Seo smiled with genuine warmth. "Because we're not interested in replacing one empire with another. We want to build something better, a galactic civilization based on cooperation rather than conquest." The transformation began immediately. Director Sang Jin arrived from Earth with teams of diplomatic specialists who had been preparing for this moment for decades. The new Galactic Federation would be governed by principles that the old Council had never understood. "Every species will have an equal voice," Director Sang Jin explained to the former Council leaders. "Technological advancement will be shared freely. Military forces will be used for defense and exploration, not conquest." The response from across the galaxy was immediate and overwhelming. Species that had been oppressed under Council rule declared their support for the new Federation. Worlds that had been forced to provide resources began contributing willingly to shared projects. Within weeks, the transformation was complete. The old order of conquest and domination was replaced by cooperation and mutual respect. The galaxy that had been held together by fear was now united by hope. Engineer Nari worked with alien scientists to share the technological innovations that had won the war. Temporal manipulation, dimensional phasing, and stellar engineering were no longer human secrets, but tools that all Federation species could learn and improve. "The key is understanding that physics has more dimensions than most species realize," she explained to a group of fascinated alien researchers. "Once you learn to work with time and space instead of against them, possibilities become limitless." Admiral Jaewon oversaw the integration of former Council military forces into the new Federation Defense Corps. Warriors who had once fought for conquest now found purpose in exploration and protection of peaceful worlds. "We're not ending military service," he explained to former Council officers. "We're changing its purpose. Instead of conquering new worlds, we'll be exploring unknown regions of space and defending those who cannot defend themselves." The greatest success came from humanity's secret allies. The Ket Collective, Free Worlds Coalition, and dozens of other species joined the Federation as equal partners. The network of alliances that had made victory possible became the foundation of a new galactic government. 1 year after the Battle of Nexus Prime, Ambassador Yun Ho stood before the first session of the Galactic Federation Assembly. Representatives from over 300 species filled the great hall that had once housed the Council's imperial government. "We gather today not as conquerors and conquered," she announced, "but as equals united in our commitment to peace, exploration, and mutual prosperity." The hall erupted in cheers from beings who had never imagined such a day could come. Species that had been enemies for centuries stood together as partners in building a better future. The lesson we have learned echoes through these halls, Ambassador Yun-Ho continued. Never assume that a quiet species is a weak one. Sometimes the greatest strength lies in patience, preparation, and the wisdom to know when to reveal your true power. Former Chairman Vex Kor, now serving as an elected representative of his homeworld, listened to words that had once seemed impossible. The empire he had helped rule was gone, replaced by something far better. The human approach wasn't just about superior technology, he later reflected to his aide. They understood something we never did, that true strength comes from unity. Freely given, not obedience taken by force. The galaxy that had once been ruled by fear was now governed by hope. Species that had been isolated by imperial boundaries now worked together on projects that benefited all. The greatest change in galactic history had been achieved not through destruction, but through the courage to imagine something better. In the years that followed, the Galactic Federation would achieve wonders that the old Council had never dreamed possible. Faster-than-light travel became available to all species. Poverty and conflict began disappearing as resources were shared rather than hoarded. Most importantly, the cycle of conquest and resistance that had defined galactic politics for millennia finally came to an end. Humanity had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. They had won a war not by destroying their enemies, but by offering them something better than what they had before. The quiet species from the edge of the galaxy had taught the entire universe a lesson about true strength. The stars themselves seemed brighter in the new age of cooperation that followed. And in the depths of space, human ships worked alongside former enemies to explore the unknown regions beyond the galaxy's edge, united in discovery rather than divided by fear. The greatest deception in galactic history had ended with